Hi, I'm Lou, another episode of My Car Story. We're in the western suburbs of Chicago. I'm here with George Hansen.
Hi, Lou.
George, good to see you. Today we're going to have some fun because, in my opinion, in 1955, 56, 57, some of the greatest Thunderbirds ever. I would say the 57 is possibly the greatest. You can tell me what you think about that thought. And George, he has one. So George, thanks for being on My Car Story. Let me grab the camera. How did you end up with a 57 Thunderbird?
Well, I've always wanted one. I always thought they were such pretty cars. Even, when I was a kid, I remember a neighbor had one. And they just seemed to be so expensive and so out of our reach.
Yeah.
But now that I'm retired, I was able to find this car actually in the northern suburbs. It had been completely restored about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's the right color as far as I'm concerned. It's such a pretty car, and I just feel honored that I was able to get it.
Let's take a look at our prized attraction. And we've got the sun on it right now. George, come on back with me. Wow. That is a parade on wheels. I mean, the 55 was to compete with the Corvettes, and such a great job to have the two-seater. And then the 56 comes out, which is just a little bit, not as long as this one is from a length standpoint. And then 57, before they had to dual up the headlights in 58. I mean, this is the whole Sunday. The double scoops, the banana, the whipped cream. I think it's the whole thing. George, what's the reaction when you're driving this and people see this?
Well, I put gas in it last night, and 3 people came up and said, would you bring it over and put it in my garage? So that's about as good a compliment as you can get.
So when they see it, they just can't help themselves is the bottom line.
It gets a lot of looks and a lot of real positive comments.
We're gonna give people just a little flavor of that today. I just want to hit it from every angle. And man, I'm a fan of Fords, and I'm a fan of the T-Birds, and I'm a fan of probably a lot of cars, but the styling on this one is just so great.
I think the styling is truly timeless. It just looks as good today, I think, as it did in 57. The 57s are said to be the most collectible, although they did make more 57s than the longer production year, because they were not ready to bring out the 58 Thunderbird, so they continued producing this, I think, into November. But yeah, it's just a car that got a great job.
Yeah. And that's the exhaust right there that comes out, the emblem. I want to show that back view, and the porthole hardtop. Man, just let people just meditate on that for just a second. Man, that's sweet. George, tell me about these wire wheel rims we have here. It's a little bit windy today, so if you're hearing that noise, that's what that is.
Those are Kelsey Hayes wire wheels.
Okay.
They actually came out in 1958.
Okay.
So they are not original equipment to the car. They did have wire hubcaps in 57, but they didn't have the full wire wheel. And a lot of the cars that have been restored, owners have put the full Kelsey Hayes wheels on them. And it is a Ford wheel. It has Ford emblems on it, but it just wasn't produced in 57. It came out in 58. Nice
curvature there. Let me open the door, take a look at the interior. You gotta duck your head a little getting in. This is the pop-off top. But the wonderful spun metal on that. The great Thunderbird logo there. Master Glide power steering.
An interesting thing about the Thunderbird, the automatic transmission is a 3-speed, but in drive it starts out in 2nd gear.
Is that right?
But when you put it in low, it's a 1st gear, it's a lower gear. So if you're going to do some hot rodding, you can put it in low and manually shift it up to drive. But for most of the driving, you just put it in drive, and it acts like more like a power glide transmission from a Chevy.
Wow. George, I'm going to go on record here and say probably the nicest 57 T-Bird I've encountered. So
it was restored by a place up in Wisconsin that has a reputation for restoring Thunderbirds.
I want to just show people this. This is the original brochure that came with the car too, so that people can kind of take that in. And we'll give you the details there, so you can pause that as need be. Isn't that great? Look at that. And then it flips on. Here's the complete backside as well. Talking about specifications, they go down so you can read those details or stop wherever you may like the video. That's pretty cool. And then it also opens up here. I'll turn that around to show you all the new. Let me show you what this looks like here, so you can see it from a length. I'll give you the time to dial in to the details that you may want to try to read. There. All the combinations, the tops, the power assist, etc. Some of the details there. So I'm going to close that wonderful piece of information. Put that there, and let's take a look under the hood. I'm giving you a little more time on this one because it's just that good. Now this is the optional engine, correct?
This is an optional engine, right. It's 312 cubic inches and 247 horsepower.
Wow.
It really is pretty spunky. I'm surprised at the acceleration that it has for a car that's in the 57 era. It really does go. And they did race them back in the day.
Let me give you an overall shot of that front hood. Just what that looks like when it's up. That's cool. That's pretty cool. George, while I'm here, let's start her up, shall we? George, is that smooth?
It runs good.
Yeah, that is really smooth.
One little quirk the car has that I think is kind of interesting is that you have to put it in neutral to start it. You can't start it in park.
Okay.
But you can start it in neutral and then put it into park.
We've pre-taken the roof mountings off. Let's take the hood off real quick. Let's take it for a quick ride, just around the block.
Sounds great.
Let me put the camera back on the stand momentarily. I'm gonna do this momentarily. Pull into the street and I'm going to jump in. I want to get you riding your 57 T-Bird. It's interesting the way you kind of sit over the top of it too. Oh, it sounds great, George. I just want to get a little exhaust note there. Look at that. George, let's take a quick ride around the block.
Sounds like a great idea.
Okay. Here we go. Oh yeah, the top off is perfect on this, isn't it? I mean, it's just fantastic.
It's what it was meant to be. Can't beat a convertible.
I've ridden in a few cars, but few that probably gain this kind of attraction when you're gonna drive it. I just want to focus in on those gears right there. That looks great. We'll keep it out of the water for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's actually just as clean underneath it as it is on the top. It's all painted nicely and just like it came from the factory.
It looks. I hope people can hear that sound because it sounds great.
A lot of fun to drive.
Well, it rides wonderfully. I mean, it's extremely comfortable. And once you take the top off, I mean, it's a little claustrophobic sometimes with the top, but I mean, once you take that top off, it's great.
Oh yeah, yeah. The top makes a big difference.
Nice. George, stay seated. I'm going to have you just, look at this dashboard, it's tremendous. I'm going to have you, let me jump out. George, a pleasure. Thanks for being on My Car Story.
Thank you very much, Lou. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.